Hello, hello. What's up? What's up? It is a new day, it is a new week, and it's time to get social. My name is Kayvana, and welcome to the Introvert's Social Hour. Hello, hello. We have another episode of the Introvert Social Hour today. Today, we are talking about personality tests. We're checking to see what are the vibes. There's so many personality tests out there. They range and look into so many different styles. We have the Myers-Briggs, which goes into the 16 personalities. We have another one. I might be pronouncing this wrong, but the Einzig one that goes into three different personality kind of like main traits, and we have so many more, but we're only going to break down a few today. But I have brought two of my friends. Y'all know they're here all the time. Sabrina and Nicole. So hey, Sabrina and Nicole, what's up? What's up?
Hi.
Hi.
At this point, it's like y'all know who they are. They're
Yeah.
back again.
Ugh,
They're like, we're getting real tired of these two. Get them out of here.
LOL.
bye.
But oh yeah, it's like, hey, if you are, please let us know. No, I'm just kidding.
We're not taking feedback at this time.
None.
No feedback. No, they're staying. If you're gonna have to listen to the episodes. I'm not telling you to not listen to the episodes. I'm telling you to listen to the episodes and you'll learn to love them if you don't.
Yeah.
But you should. There should be no reason,
We
right?
have the best
We're
personalities. We have
right,
proof today.
Duh, this is what we're
right,
doing.
right. We're one and the same. We're a package deal. Quite
We are.
honestly, we are a package deal. Um, so we've talked. I feel like we specifically the colors personality tests.
It's my favorite.
We've made this our personalities as a whole. Um, and we did this in college. If I
Hmm.
feel like we've talked about this at some point. That we were house advisors, together, and we did this in college as like a get to know you, get to know each other, partnership kind of team building.
Hmm.
And I'm so curious to know now what has that become today. We did retake these tests, and so now that we made these our personalities, I was like, I'm a gold. Nicole, we're golds. There weren't
Yep.
many of us. It was me, you, and Nayeli, and I was a
Hmm.
strong gold too. I remember because I was like the other ones were like pretty evened out, and like gold was super high.
Hmm.
Um, and now like what has changed? Um, and also into that like the Myers Briggs. When was the last time y'all took that? I'm curious.
For
Mm.
me, I feel like I took it the first time in high school and I was like, oh, that's a cool, like I read up on my result and I was really connected with it and thought it was really cool. I think the test that I took like told you what percentage of the population had that much and I was like really rare one. So I was like, ooh, I'm rare. I'm unique. Um, and so that is the one that I like had in my mind for years and years. And then in the last year, I took it again, but it wasn't the same. So I was like, I pretend I do not see it. Uh, and then
Yeah.
for this, I took it again, and it's still not the same. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that later.
Mm.
Um, but so I think I've taken it 3 times total. But for the longest time, I was just like, I'm that one, and I'm not gonna look any more into it.
Mhm.
Yeah. What about you, Sabrina?
I can't remember the first time I took it.
Okay.
Um, I want to say it was either like senior year of high school or like maybe for like it was for my psychology class. Little bells ringing. That I took between junior and senior year. It was like one of the like dual enrollment classes I took in high school. And I got mine and I was like read to filth by this personality
Yeah.
test. It was insane.
Mm.
And so I did not retake it until literally yesterday because I have not been wanting to retake it, but I'm still safe, baby.
Okay.
Still
It's
the
still
same
red to
thing.
filth,
Yeah,
but you're comfortable with it now.
yeah. But I was like, at least it's not in a new way. At least it's still in
Yeah.
a way that I expect. It was the other one you had us do where I was just like, cool,
Check-
awesome. Thank you for telling me things I already knew. And I'm still very much a blue. That one did not
Okay.
change at all. I didn't expect it to change.
Yeah.
My other three wobbled a little bit, but still, whoo, blue.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right. We're not gonna go into it, but I am excited to see what those numbers do look like for all of us.
Mhm.
We're gonna talk about that. In regards to these personality tests, though, how intensely do you take them? How much do they resonate with you or even conflict with what you think about yourselves and as far as your self-perceptions?
I do think because they're self-reported, all of them, like you don't have somebody who's like sitting there taking notes on you every day to like tell you your personality. It is
Mm.
so personal to like, what do I think I'm like? And
Mm.
sometimes it can be kind of hard actually because it's like uh there there's like my state internally and then there's things that I've learned to cope with. Like for a lot of them, like they measure things like introversion or like your neuroticism and things like that. And I know that I'm very neurotic, but I have, especially as I've gotten older, done a lot of learning to like try to mitigate some of those things and try and put myself out there more. So it has become more complicated as I've gotten older because I'm like, I know what I'm naturally like, but I also know that I'm really trying to not be that 100% of the time. So it can really make it complicated.
Hmm.
I want to add in real quick because that was a struggle I was going with when I was answering these. Because a lot of things as we are now like in our 20s and have processed life a bit more, like we can reflect on the things that we're now working on, right?
Hmm.
So for me, I was like, "Ooh, I used to be like that. I know I'm not as much as like that anymore, but statistically speaking, most of my life it has been that way or something like that." So I really had to think like, what am I really like now, not what
Hmm.
have I been, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was definitely hard as far as like self-perception goes. Yeah.
Hmm. I feel like for me, it very much depends on like the test. Like, I think that's why I like the True Colors one so much because it's just that one feels just more fun and there's so much packed into each color that
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, of course, it makes sense that I would line up with this type of thing. I think with other ones, I'm always just kind of like, wow, this piece really, really nails it. And other pieces, I'm like, I feel like that's gone now.
Yeah.
I also I don't like the ones where they're like, do you agree, somewhat agree,
Mm.
neutral? Those are my least favorite because I'm
Yeah.
just like, don't ask me to think about myself in this way.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
am not going to pay so much close attention to myself in this moment and be like, oh
Hmm.
yeah, I 100% do this. I'm an indecisive person.
Hmm.
Indecisive is the only one where I can 100% click all the way. And so I
Agree.
sit there and I struggle with those. Those are
Mhm.
the ones where I'm just kind of like, I don't know how accurate this is because this is different right now than it would be in 30 minutes because
True.
I can't make decisions.
Yeah.
Just
That's also
neither
true.
agree nor disagree all the way down.
Neutral, neutral, neutral.
Neutral. Yeah, seriously. That was
Yeah.
that because the for the 16 personalities one, instead of having like neutral, like a medium, disagree or agree, and then agree, they had like two in
Hmm.
Yeah.
between. And that was like, ah, okay. In a way, I was kind of like, but in a way, also, I was like, wait, that's kind of helpful because that gives me a
Hmm.
little bit more middle ground. But that could also make me a little bit more indecisive on which one to click as well.
Yep.
So
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
guess a
That's so
catch 22.
as I've taken more and more of those, I try and challenge myself not to go true middle as much as possible. I'm like, I need
yeah.
to whatever I need to make a decision, even if I'm not committing fully to do like the slightest disagree or the slightest
Yeah.
agree. I have to pick one.
Okay.
That's that's such a good idea.
Mhm.
But
But
this
sometimes you are neutral though.
Yeah,
yeah,
It
truly.
yeah.
depends.
I think there
Yeah.
are
Hmm.
definitely some, but like for example, the last one that I also don't know how to pronounce. What was
I
it
think
that
it's
you
Einzig. I have a feel
Isaac?
because
I
first
said
That
name
makes
Hans,
sense.
Einzig. That sounds very
Um,
connective.
with the Isaac, I want to say I had like 4 or 5 where it was just like I don't know. I think I'm in the middle. And I think like for sure, at least two of them I am in the middle. But the other two I
mm,
was just like so like I don't know,
yeah.
guys. That I
And
was like,
there's
this is what I have to do.
mhm. And there's so many that were also like, it depends. Like, there's
Hmm.
one that's like, I'm generally
Mhm.
quiet around people. And I was like, well, it really depends on the situation. When I don't know people super well, or
Mhm.
especially if I'm like not a super fan of a lot of people in the room, I tend to be a lot more quiet. But when it's my people, you cannot get me to shut up. Like it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
so one or the other.
Exactly. That's when I go neutral. I'm not gonna lie,
Mhm.
because I'm like, it depends. Like, yeah. That was that
I
was a, that was a perfect example because that was one that I was like, that one.
Hmm.
That's a great example. I still went slightly more agree because I am a
Yeah.
chatterbox. Even
I
when I'm not
agree.
comfortable, I'm like, I'm gonna talk at these people until they get used to me. Here we go.
Uh, I'm a little the other way where it was like I'm even around people I like. I think I tend to start quiet. So
Mm.
I
Mhm.
was like, I'm gonna not go true neutral on this one. I'm gonna force myself.
Fair. Yeah. I think I did, to be honest, I think I did it quite around people. I did say like slight agree. I'm not gonna go ham on agree because if I need to talk or if I feel like I should be talking, I'll talk. But I also just don't like if there's nothing to say, I'm not just gonna talk just to talk though. So there's just
Mhm.
like that's like where those depends come in. But I did want to go in. Let's go in first on the colors one, just because I know that like Sabrina said, it's like the fun one. It's not too deep just yet. It's like
Mhm.
kind of go in funsies. For people who don't know, the colors personality test, you can get 4 different colors. You can be a green, an orange, a blue, or a gold. So let's see how we break it down. I'm not gonna like tell every audience right now like every single color because we're gonna tell it by explaining
Mhm.
our results anyways. Um, I could go first. I'll give you numbers and then we'll talk about how we feel like it relates. So plot twist of the century. It's not that bad though. It's actually still pretty in sync. So the top score was 17 is green. And the
Betrayal.
I know, but here's the thing. Second score with a 16, so only 1 point difference is a gold.
Mm. Mhm.
And then third score with a 9 is a blue, so that's when we get a little bit different. We had so last time before like everything was pretty even and then I was a gold. I was a strong gold. And now
Mm.
I've kind of balanced out a little bit more in certain areas and then my orange was a 8.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. What about y'all? And
That's
then we're gonna talk
not
about
that's not the
oh,
lowest score you can score on orange,
Yeah.
by the way.
yeah, no, I know. So I'm up there. I feel like my orange was pretty similar last time though. I feel like when
Okay.
I was a orange and a blue and a green all together, they were all pretty like similar, like
Okay.
8-ish, something like that. Yeah. So maybe I'm still like regular orange. I don't know. But what about y'all? What were your numbers? Then we're gonna talk about if we feel like they match up to who we are now.
I'm pulling mine up, Nicole, if you want to go
Oh,
first.
okay. I
Okay.
have mine. So my number one was still gold with 17.
Okay.
But my second and third are also pretty close. This is the same as last time where my number two was green with
Mhm.
15. And then this number has gone up a lot since last time, since we first took it, which is my blue, which is now a 13. And
Okay.
orange is a 5, which is the lowest you can get because I am not
Uh,
sporty or social.
Look at you getting more emotional, Nicole.
I know. Truly, I think that that's kind of the biggest change in a lot of these personality tests is that I have gotten a lot more in touch with my emotions and also a lot more like aware of other people's emotions and sensitive to those as I've gotten older. So that I see that in a lot of these.
Yeah. Meow. Sabrina, you got your score yet? I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't have it
Um,
yet.
I think I lost the one with like my scores. I have my rankings, but
Okay.
I remember my orange at the bottom of the pack with 5.
Yep.
Wow. Look at us. All low oranges.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was this time around more green than I was gold. I remember there was like a 2 point difference between the two. But gold was my third instead of my second, like it used to be.
Okay.
Green
Mm.
was right up there, and then blue was still principal number one.
Nice.
You can tell that gold dropped because once again, I lost my scores. All I found was my ranking. That's what I was doing right now. I was like, where did they go?
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I was not surprised by the blue. And not super
Mm.
surprised by the green either, being like right there. I think it was like 2 3 points separating them.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I was like, that makes sense to me. Um,
Mm.
I am a little surprised that like the orange was a 5, but I
Mm.
think that what put me off was all of the words that were like impulsive or like rule breakers or like doing
Mm-hmm.
this and doing that. And I was like, no, I'm comfortable in the rules. So every
Mhm.
time I would see that, I'd be like, well, then I want to pick this other one more because of
Mm-hmm.
this. So I
Yeah.
think that's what kept it in the five. Because
Mhm.
you scored the most out of all of us on orange, by the
I
way.
Yeah.
did. Let me explain why. So I have my thing. So this is how you know I'm still very much a gold though. So for people who can't see me, who are listening, I have a whole printout. I have my whole entire score base in front of me. Nicole has the notes. So yeah, no, I'm still very much sometimes too organized, but it's for my brain as well. For my orange, I didn't lean towards like things like so I'm a dancer, yes, but I'm not like sportsy, like, yes, put me in, coach. Like I'm just not that. Um I can be the thing is there are a lot of things like I would like to be, but I am not currently. I would love to be a little bit more spontaneous, but there's certain things that limit me to spontaneity.
Mhm.
Um and just certain things like that. What else? It was like for H, yeah, competitive, not really competitive like that. Challenging, not, it's fun to watch. Like I just started watching Traders on Peacock. That's a fun time. Yeah,
Ooh.
Nicole, yeah, I started watching it. It's good. It's fun.
Ooh.
Yeah. Um, so I love watching those kind of things, but am I necessarily in it 100%? Not always. But yeah, I I would love to be a little bit more orange, not a whole bunch more orange, but I'm not mad at where I'm at with it. For orange people, that means you're the activator. So I definitely suggest like audience definitely listen to this and see if you would like to take these tests. But for the colors personality test, being an activator, that means that you love to get things done. It's quick, it's intuitive, it's very exciting. You love being challenged by things. You're a natural leader and can easily dominate a situation. And you're just kind of just like I think of it as kind of like just getting ready to go. Like bam.
Mhm.
Like hopping in, talking to people. It's very extroverted vibes, and I am not that. So I always knew like my orange is gonna be pretty low. I never considered it ever getting into the double digits for that, but that's okay. We
That's
are who we
fine.
are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sabrina, you want to break down your blue?
Yeah. So Blue is going to be a person who is a lot more emotionally driven. That's the way that I've always liked to see it. Because I see the colors as like motivations. That's how I kind of always explain it to people. So we're motivated by relationships and emotions in the sense that we definitely like I'm looking at like the list and like value close relationships, always looking for like expressions of yourself, always being able to figure out who you are, how to express yourself in that way, making a lot of decisions based on your feelings rather than your thoughts. That's where I break away a little bit because I'm too much of an overthinker.
Mhm.
But like we're drawn to like literature, we're drawn to nurturing careers, English major, English teacher over here.
Yeah.
Uh, we are like big on like just feeling unique, also finding ways to be creative. So living in that creative space as well. Again, letting like that idea of self-expression, of building relationships form through all of these different things. Some like of the more like person like the more like skills and things like that, very willing to compromise, very willing to like cooperate and like I always take it as like a willing to like speak and work with people to kind of get to a situation and
Mm,
get to a like finish, and then also a lot of things that are like beyond surface level, looking at symbolism, looking at like what does that really mean, looking at social causes and like how can we really help with all of this stuff. So it's very people and emotions driven as well as self-expression.
yeah. I
And
definitely
I,
see that though.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like I would say we're all caring individuals, but I feel like you definitely take that spot in our friend group though.
yeah,
Like you're
this
the
is also
mom.
why
Mhm.
I it's just funny because I'm also 100% the youngest who likes to just pick on you guys all the time for everything at the
Yes.
same time.
The
Yes.
youngest by
Um,
3 months.
it's still younger. Guess what you guys are? 25. Guess what? I'm not.
You will be in
Yes.
like 1 month.
In a
By
month.
the
Yeah.
time this podcast comes
Almost,
out, you're already 25.
almost exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody go wish Sabrina a happy birthday and tell her she's old now.
No, no. But I don't know. I was like, yep, that's me. Literally, I remember we were doing this as HAs and we had a more complicated list than what we have here. But I remember teaching was on that list and I was like, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So,
Yeah. That's true.
but yeah.
Yeah, no. I also think yeah, I saw teachers on there. I was like I saw something like drawn to literature like you said and I was like
Hmm.
this is Sabrina for sure.
They're back to
Or
back. It's drawn to literature, nurturing careers. I was like, hee hee.
yep, that's you. But no, I blue. Where did you score with blue, Nicole? What was that was your number 2 or number 3?
My number 3 at 13.
Number 3 at
So
13.
it's a lot higher than it used to be.
I found my scores. I am an
Oh,
18.
whoa.
Wow.
But plot twist of the year, I actually like not plot twist of the year. That belongs to Kim actually. I'm still. Woo. I am actually a 17 in green. I thought it was a bigger difference. I am a
It's only
17 in
1
green.
point.
And then we take a huge drop to 10 in gold.
Wow. You become less of a gold. That's so interesting how
It's
that jump
it is the children.
valid.
It is
They
the children.
gotcha.
They have sapped anything out of me. And now I'm just like, if we can make a day in the class work, we're good.
Let's just go. Yeah. So
But
we've
yeah, so I'm
got
18.
18, 13, and 9. Okay. I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Hey, it's fine.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think for me, and here's what I've noticed too, and y'all tell me. So Nicola said that they have seen like a growth and expression of their emotions. For me, what I've noticed is it's not that I've become to care but it's more so like I'm very particular on who I am connecting with.
Hmm.
So like for me, and I'm also just like very aware. So then I'm not gonna be that person where I'm seeing you cry. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you okay? I'm gonna be like, are you okay? You say no, like you say I'm good. Leave me alone, please. I back off because I'm like I'm respecting people's space. And then
Hmm.
also too like though, because some people I'm aware I'm not that person who needs like a crowd around me. I'm not gonna be that person. So I give people their space. So I acknowledge that I'm not like super like, oh my gosh, come here. I'm not a super huggy person. If it, like things like that. So I acknowledge that in me, but I still care. It's just not
Hmm.
as like intensely deep because I'm like looking at this list and I'm like, yeah. But I definitely do I do vote on the ideas of like harmony. Like I don't want no drama because I know
Yeah.
like yeah, I don't want no drama. Um things like that. I share emotions with people that I'm willing to share emotions with. And that's another thing too. That makes me less of
Mhm.
a blue. It's like, I gotta, that's when the green comes in where like I gotta know who you are. I gotta evaluate you. I gotta understand you before I'm over
Yeah.
here sharing my deepest, darkest thoughts.
I think that's like one of the like over like generalizations in the blue because as much as I am comfortable letting people know about like my like super um like my like eh emotions like oh yeah I know that made me sad or like oh no yeah like these are all the things that irritate me boom 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 kind of thing like actual genuine emotions that's limited to very few people.
Mhm.
That's something that's more in here kind of thing.
Mhm.
But all of the other stuff, absolutely, you're going to know if I am having a good time, if I'm comfortable with people, you're going to know if I'm having a bad time. But if I don't know everyone, you will never know I'm having a bad time unless it's extreme. No.
Yep.
But I'm with you,
Mhm.
I think. And I've learned how to become a little bit more like you, of being like a every person needs something different. So let
Mhm.
me see what they need first. And then even if they don't need me, that's fine.
Mhm.
That's okay. I'm gonna step back.
Yeah. I feel like you do a great job, by the way. I
Gracias.
no complaints. No
Gracias.
complaints from
I
friends.
was like, that was a work in progress for like all of college.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, no. Solid. Giving us friendship ratings. Like, no, you're great.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh, oh. What about you, Nicole? What can you break down for the peeps who don't know, like the gold? You're the highest gold. So what does that look
Mhm.
like for you?
So being a gold is a lot more like you're very responsible, you're very dependable, like you're very organized, you're on time, you tend to be a lot more like you a lot of the things that kind of crop up in the gold category are like tradition and stability and things like that. Those are where I kind of started to deviate a little bit, where like I don't necessarily always want to go for like what's traditional and things like that, because that's not always the best thing. That's where I think kind of my secondary and green is getting a lot stronger, where I'm like, well, we need to analyze these things and decide and like make an informed decision and not just be going with tradition over and over again.
Mhm.
But what I really am drawn to within the gold category are uh being dependable and being stable. Like anytime that showed up in a category, I was like, that's it. Like that. And Sabrina talked about like motivation. That's very much like what motivates me. Like I want to be the kind of person that people know that they can depend on. So they're not like, it's kind of in a different almost personality category to think about like zodiac signs and things like that. I have never enjoyed my zodiac sign because as a Sagittarius, the like stereotype is always like flighty and like not not wanting to be nailed down. And I'm like, that is not me. I want to be somebody that people like know that if they need something, they can come to me. And it has really informed a lot of things in my life. Like other things on this list are uh scheduling your life, keeping commitments, goal oriented, rule following, those sort of things. And I feel like those are really in line with what really draws me to the gold category. Whereas like there are other things where I'm like, like the safeguarding tradition, preferring order and cleanliness. It does definitely get to me when things are way out of control, but I do tend to let things go a little bit. But then when I need to get all my stuff back together and in a line, cleaning my space, organizing things is really how I like get back on track. So even though I'm less of a gold than I used to be, definitely still my strongest. And yeah, it's very much that like you're always gonna have all your ducks in a line,
Yep.
and that's the gold. And I've always kind of been that way. So
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that it stayed the same.
Hey, listen, I don't think there's nothing wrong with being a gold either, too. Which was
No.
so funny because I remember when it was like literally only three of us in college. It was like, oh, y'all are the strict ones. And it was just like, no, wait, like here's the thing though. As I've
Mhm.
gotten older, though, I think the reason why my gold is literally like 1 point under another one is because I have come to a point. I want organization for myself. I want that preparedness for myself. I'm goal orientated because I have like plans. I like planning. I like having an idea for the future.
Mhm.
And I'm just driven. Just that's just where I am. And in order to do that, I need to be organized and understand what the heck is happening and be responsible. What the downfall of that has been, and we've talked about this, Nicole, the downfall of that has been always being the person that people can depend on. And so as I've
Yeah.
gotten older, I don't like that
Yeah, I'm not
because
saying it's not the best way to live your life.
yeah, yeah. So that's the only thing. So I've kind of become that rebellious, like green in a way, and I'm going to talk about that green next. Is in the sense of I love that I can be counted on in a way, but I don't like that I'm always the one being counted on, and I'm only
Mhm.
coming being approach to be counted on versus other things. It happens
Mhm.
in work, it happens in general, like family life, things like that. And as I've gotten older, I've been able to like draw these lines. Or like,
Mhm.
it was funny, I cracked a joke not too long ago, and I was like, I'm gonna start doing my job not as well. And that like I'm still gonna do my job well, but like I'm going to be more chill versus like overachiever. Not that I was
Yeah.
always an overachiever. I just have my personal standards for myself and what I want to achieve for teaching and for like the kids, like what I want them to learn and what I want them to take away. And I'm pretty proud of that because like, people talk about my school. Like we're in a good spot. But like also too, now people are like, hey, you're great at this. You're great at proctoring. We're gonna move you to 5 different areas and have like no structure. You have no
Mm-mm.
structure because we want you here and we want you there. Oh, you're good at
Mhm.
behavior management. So can you help out this teacher? We're good at like it's just like and then it's just like a whole thing of like you got to be a whole school teacher so you got to be prepared for anything. We're going to put you anywhere. But then there's
Mhm.
people who aren't dependable that you're not bleeding them of their resources like that. So
Yeah.
it's just like that was the thing. And so I think that's where I've become less gold. I could care less about like necessarily traditions. Like I
Mhm.
think more so I think about the green of it all. I know it's really nice. The green of it all. More so it's like, does it make sense still? So if it's a
Mhm.
if it's a great tradition that makes sense, then yes, I care.
Yeah.
But if they're traditions and I've analyzed it and it's like this doesn't make sense then I let it go. Like for me, I
Mhm.
think the automatic one I think of is like marriage. Does it make sense to a person? It
Mhm.
doesn't like do you need to get married just to get married because that's traditional or like what is your personal goal? So that's where I see where green comes in a lot more. I think a lot more about these things versus just going for it because it's the way it is.
Yeah.
Um
And to your
yeah.
point on like everybody depending on you becoming too much, like another thing in the gold category is like the want to be self-sufficient and like independence and things like that, because you're so like in your own lane and like you've got all your ducks in a row. But then where I run into trouble with being such a strong gold is that when I need some help, I look around me and I'm like, oh no, everyone comes to me when they need something. Who do I go to?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so it also kind of plays into the mindset too, where I'm like, no, everybody comes to me when they need something, and I want to continue to be that dependable, like reliable person. I can't even let people know that I need some
Yep.
help right now because I'm going to lose that stability, that responsibility view that people have of me. So it becomes like its own issue if you are like too strong in it and you're not doing what Kayvon is doing and like trying to set those boundaries and like really, when your default is 120%, going down to 100% is
Hmm.
better for everybody.
Hmm.
But
No,
it's
I
it's
agree.
difficult. It's difficult to make that jump because
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
that whole idea, especially when you've had it together, whatever way you've had it together your whole life, either because like you've been very organized and you know all of these things, or you just have presented that like idea of like, no, I have always known what I've wanted. I'm doing the things that I want to do to get to where I am. It's so hard to take a step and be like, actually, guys, I kind of need a little bit of help.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Actually, I kind of need this. If it's not in an area you usually do it in,
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
difficult.
That true. That true.
Hmm.
Well, we're gonna talk about that too in our other ones. But I did want to recap on green. Um,
Hmm.
Green, you're usually innovative and logical. You seek to understand the world. I think as I've gotten older now, within this past 2 years or so, I'm really thinking a lot, getting more philosophical about what the heck is going on. With so many things that we've had to deal with. Need to be competent. Um, I just kind of am. Because and that's where the kind of gold comes in. I don't, but I also do. I feel like it's important for other people to be like, just like you need, like we all work together. Like, you got to do your part. I do my part. Requires intellectual freedom, 100%. I've learned that within my job. Like, I don't want to need people. I don't feel like I need people. I'm in a pretty stable spot where I'm okay. I'm curious, question authority. I do. I do now. That's what makes me more green. Yeah, I'm a rebel. Yeah. So like, yeah. Question authority. Question it in, of course, a logical way though. So like if you're not making sense, I'm gonna ask questions and I'm gonna make sure I bring my facts that make sense for my questions. Um, because just because you have a title doesn't mean anything to me. And I've understood that now as I've gotten older. Like you have a title, but we're all human, and I've seen that you don't do your job as well. So uh we need to make sure we're on the same page about things. Authority, just with a leadership title, does not mean you are better than anyone else. It just means that you have a role and where I think we're all equal. And that's where the authority gets questioned, for lack of a better word. I don't think it's necessarily questioning, it's just being balanced. I don't, the hierarchy of it all has never made sense to me, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so that's where I'm at. Push themselves to improve, yes, which is why I'm perfectly fine kind of on my own. I always just work on my own improvement. Um, may become intellectually isolated. Yes, I'm an introvert at the end of the day, so I do a lot of self-thinking. This is the introvert social hour. So, not much social happening, but it happens here. Um, Slow to make decisions, yes and no. Um, Concise communication. Yes, I'm all about that. Intellectual stimulation. Yes, I can't do 9 to 5 desk jobs. I need to, if I'm gonna be at a desk, I need to be sitting down and come up like how like residence life, you could sit at a desk and then go and do an event, like things like that, a mixture. Um, Detached, uh, I don't know, maybe oblivious emotions. I feel like I'm very aware of people's emotions. It's a matter of kind of like, once again, like we talked about, whether I come in and approach or kind of like leave them be.
Hmm.
Um, Believe work is play. I don't think work should be boring. Um, Drawn to technical occupations. I can understand that in some ways. Analyze and rearrange systems. Not all systems work. All systems need edits. Like I said, like so that blends in with the idea of like tradition. Not everything that has been established necessarily works, and I'm always about like whatever does work. elevate it, edit it. Focus on the future, yes, and then bring innovation to society. I'm no Einstein, but if I ever come up with something cool, I'm down. But
Yeah.
no, I don't have anything. But yeah, those are what greens are. They are frustrated by lack of control, lack of independence, incompetence, etc. Over emotional displays, I don't get frustrated by it, but I get if someone's way too excited and way too orange for me, please tone it down. That's all. So that's why I have a hard time in theater spaces. I am a theater girl, but I have a hard time in theater spaces because they're at
Mhm.
110, 50 at all times. And I'm just sitting here. I don't know what's that mean where there's a guy is it Bill Clinton? He's just sitting there with his headphones and that he's sitting down on the wall with the music on. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I
But
don't know
there's one
who.
he's just sitting there and I just imagine like chaos happening. I'm just me like just sitting here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, I
No.
would say that's the wrap. I don't know. How do we feel about all of ours? Like, do you think mine matches to me? I know I've talked about like I feel like blue matches Sabrina. I definitely do think Nicole matches gold because I feel like
Yes.
Nicole and I blend a lot of ways on that
Yeah.
for sure.
Um, I feel like it's very telling that the minute you said plot twist, I went, "Oh my God, you're green," because
You did,
that's
yes.
the only other option. I was like, I can see you fully because I do think
Mhm.
in the last few years you've had all everything you just described, and like I agree. Like you've had these different changes. You've become a much more like thoughtful person in not that you weren't before, but like in like
Mhm.
a sense of like you're really thinking out what are the things that I want to spend my life focusing on? What are the things that are important to me? All of that um, which I think is still your goal, showing up real
Yeah,
strong.
yeah,
Mhm.
Um, because I also think that's just like so very adult. It's so very grown up because we have at least like our weekly meeting, which I am the one who like most often does not make, but it's there and it's set in stone because we're like we want an hour at least. It's never just an hour
no.
Yeah.
with each other. But it's so difficult once you get older to make time for things that you love and for people you love. Like,
Mhm.
so I think it makes a lot of sense that you've had that swap with like, you're going to be thinking about it and all of these kinds of things. And then, Nicole, you come from a shared Google Calendar family.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. I
So
was
I feel
actually
like for you it makes sense that the scheduling and that the making sure that you like know what you need to do, making sure you know like, oh, this person like told me this, like I'm gonna have like these little tiny things here and there. I think that makes so much sense for you because that's your way of doing the same thing. Again, you two have a little bit more overlap than
Mhm.
Mhm.
I feel like I do with both of you in that
Yeah.
sense. um so I think it makes sense to me. And then for me, I definitely like I am only organized in the things that I really want to be organized in. Like planning a trip somewhere, absolutely. I've got everything down pat. I know everything we're doing.
Yeah. You have the Disney trip
Specifically,
down.
I was like,
Oh yeah.
specifically any Disney trip, you tell me exactly what kind of experience you want to have. I will have a list, but I will be like, whatever you want to do from here, these are my suggestions. You figure out what you want kind of thing. Not like
Mhm.
a, oh, I think we should do this, 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 this. I'm just like a, here are my suggestions, go.
It's where your
And
gold and blue blend a little
yeah,
bit.
Yeah.
We took the
yeah,
back seat as golds and we were just vibing. And
I
then you
know.
you you went you took that gold, but you were also like it feels blue. Like what do we wanna it wasn't just like
Yeah.
this is what we're gonna do. So that was good.
And it's
And it
it's
it still feels
because
very blue because it's driven by passion and like love for it.
Mhm.
yeah, I know we sat down. I was like, you guys need to have like your top like rides, your top foods, and your top this, and then we'll figure it out from there.
Mhm.
I think that is the only time I have been like, give me everything, I will do everything. So that's why I was not surprised that my goal dropped. I didn't think it was going to drop that much. But I am also starting what you have started, Kivana, of figuring out what are the things that are actually like valuable. I'm way more curious about a lot of stuff as I've grown up. So I think it's accurate for all of us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Why I like it so much.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, they did good.
I really see green for you too, Kayvana. And I feel like green and gold are really close anyway, as far as the like color categories,
Hmm.
because they are kind of both in that like logical area, and that's very much where I see you, which is why I was like green checks out. If not gold, definitely green because
Green.
you are very intellectual and thoughtful, and you've always been that way even when gold was your primary. So I'm not surprised at all. It like checks out totally. but you also have the benefit of like you don't really have as many of the weaknesses that are in the green category. Like you're still very emotionally understanding and like, but still from a logical standpoint, if that makes sense. Like you
Yeah.
recognize the logic in emotions, which is why green being your primary is like, yeah, that works.
Yeah. That's why I was like, I'm not surprised. I was like, I switched, but I was like, okay, after I read it, I was like, okay, that's fair. Yeah. And I will say, as far as like Blue for you, Nicole, like I have seen it over the years. Like,
Mhm.
so like I know that's something you have also been just working on. So I would shout out to
Mhm.
you for elevating your emotional connections. But it's
Yeah.
so true though. Like, can you imagine? Like, it's so funny because from when did we officially meet each other our second year of college? I knew of you, but I don't know if we had met yet officially
Yeah.
or
I think
until
I knew of you because in second year, was that when you were living with Seema?
yeah. Mhm.
Mm,
Yeah. So I think that I knew of you like in relation to Seema and like, so yeah, I think second year.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So from going from there to like being house advisors together that first year till now, like look at us growing, right?
I
Wow.
know.
Wow. So I just think that's cool and to see how we keep changing. Um let's move on to the test that we had never taken before that
Mhm.
apparently threw some of us for a loop. We tried not to have too much conversation ahead of time about it, but apparently Nicole was shooketh, and Sabrina, you mentioned a little bit earlier that you too were shooketh.
I was like not shooketh. I was just kind of like, listen, we don't need to put this out into words.
Yeah, you didn't have to say it.
Yeah.
LOL. It's the Hans Einzig personality test. And if I'm saying it wrong, apologies. It has three personality main elements: extroversion, neuroticism, and psychotism. They do say that the psychotism usually scores lower because it's connected with like negative association. So most people score lower on psychotism. Um, and then it's still kind of like something that's always being developed and understood a bit more. They have different variations of it. We took like the basic one. Um, but I'm very curious to see like so they break down percentages. So I'll give percentages first for mine. Let's just break down our percentages and then we're going to talk about exactly what it
Mhm.
says about those percentages. So my extroversion, which is sociability, was a 42%. And then my neuroticism was a emotionality was a 39%. And then my psychotism, which is rebelliousness, was a 28%. So what about
Wow,
y'all?
pretty even.
Um, I got extroversion a 64%. Neuroticism was a 57%. And then my psychoticism, if that's how you pronounce it, was a 26%.
Okay.
Wow. I had extroversion 35%, neuroticism 57, Sabrina.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
okay.
And then psychoticism 21%. So pretty
Oh,
low.
I know what it told you now. Because it told me the same thing.
So now I gotta know. Oh,
I can
okay.
read it.
So yes, go ahead. Go first. Break down all of them for what they said.
Okay. Um, so my extroversion results were moderately high, which I agree. I feel like, but it suggests that you are at times overly talkative, outgoing, sociable, and interacting at the expense of developing your own individual interests and internally based identity. I am often dragged to things even when I would like to stay home because I can't say
Hmm.
no. Neuroticism results were moderately high, which suggests you are worrying, insecure, emotional, and anxious. Psychoticism results were low, which suggests you are overly kind, natured, trusting, and helpful at the expense too often of your own individual complex. And in parentheses, it says martyr complex.
Hmm.
Yep. I My neuroticism and psychoticism were the same like descriptions, but for extroversion, I got extroversion results were moderately low, which suggests you are reclusive, quiet, unassertive, and private.
Okay. So mine was a blend of yours and
Mm-hmm.
Sabrina's. So um so I got the same one for extroversion, Nicole. So moderately low. And then neuroticism, mine's was opposite of both of yours. So it says results were moderately low, which suggests you are relaxed, calm, secure, and optimistic. I'm surprised, based off of listening to what yours said, I'm surprised I didn't get anxious bean. So
Yes.
I'm like, am I making improvements? Like,
Wow, stability. We love it.
okay, like, but no, actually, that would make sense as far as like what I'm trying to like get to. Like 2022 me would probably got what y'all got. 2024 me is in a place of like, I'm just trying to be more hopeful of things, even when things still kind of suck, and just trying to live in the things that I do have, versus what I don't. And then psychoticism was the same. So uh it looks like we all have that that martyr complex apparently.
That's so
um
funny.
Woo.
yeah, I was like, okay, often at the expense of your individual development. I will say though, that's something I've been working on. So I read it and I was like, I think I'm as bad as I used to be.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So I don't know about that, but it's good that it's low. Like I wonder what the results, what the statement would have said if it was high. Like, like you go from like a superhero to a villain real quick, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also
So
want to point out that the thing that really had me going, oh my God, this thing is reading me, is I had a little extra box on the bottom, and maybe Sabrina, you had this too because our scores were so similar.
Let me
Based
see.
on your neuroticism score, you would benefit from working on your mental slash existential health. And I was like, excuse me, that is
Why
so
did you
rude.
tell me this? I stopped reading. I stopped reading after Martyr Complex.
They were like, hey, you need therapy, girl.
Yes, I know. It's on
oh.
my bingo for the year. Thank you.
Which, um, to be fair, like this is what I mentioned before, where I was like, the neuroticism score, I'm not surprised because I tend naturally towards being more of a worrier and like overthinker and stuff like that,
Mhm.
being more insecure. But I do think that as I've become more like emotionally aware in general, I've done a lot more of like, I've learned a lot more coping mechanisms to kind of
Mhm.
balance out that natural neuroticism. So I might start kind of in a anxious place, but I've gotten a lot better at being like, when you kind of separate yourself into like the inner child and the you that's an adult, you're like, it's okay, you're
Mhm.
fine, they don't hate you, you're okay. Like it's so I'm not surprised, but at the same time, like it's not 100% accurate, which no one personality test is gonna like totally get you
Yeah.
every single time.
Yeah. Um, I feel like I was not surprised by any of this. I don't think it's at like I wouldn't say like it's at the cost of my own individual like development. I don't think that's that. I think I'm very secure in knowing who I am and how I'm changing kind of thing. But I do think that I do value like, okay, other people want to do this. I don't
Mm-hmm.
particularly mind, so let me go. Um, I think it's very easy for me to do things for others versus for
Yeah.
myself. But I have that's one of the areas where I need to learn how to say no more, need to be more like, nah, I don't, I want to stay inside. I want to do this instead or do that or be like, not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I know that all of my neuroticism comes from constantly worrying about others or
Mm-hmm.
constantly being the person that people come to. So I'm always like, okay, I want to make sure like this goes well. But then that's many things all at once. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's what leads to the anxiousness, the worrying,
Mm-hmm.
the emotionalness, all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I
And
know that comes from. That's why I was like not surprised, but I was like, listen,
Like chillax.
take it down. Don't call me a martyr, please. I don't think I am. Also, I am 100% overly talkative. Absolutely. That when I saw that, I was like, thank you. Thank you.
yep.
Oh
I do
no.
think though, like the awareness that some of these tests give you can be really nice because for the martyr complex thing, like I definitely align with that where I am a lot, even though I'm a gold, I'm a lot better at like keeping dates and like meeting deadlines and stuff like that when someone else is involved. Like there's
Mhm.
something about having to impress another person or even just like having to meet their expectation where I'm like, I'm going to do everything to do that, even if like I have to stay up late to do something or I have to like say no to things that I want to do because I have this other responsibility, things like that. So I've at times I've used it to kind of like trick myself or into doing the things I want to do where I will tell somebody else one of my personal goals and be like, make sure I do it. And they don't even have to say anything. But just because I told them and I'm like, no, they're going to be so disappointed in me if I don't meet this personal goal that just me made for myself, I'm so much more likely to do it. It's so silly, but it works.
It's true. No, I agree with that. Um, I I want to tie in a little bit on the extroversion thing. Um, it says reclusive, quiet, and assertive in private. Um, in regards to that, I do agree. I don't know if reclusive is the right word though, but I
You a
am
hermit.
private.
Yeah, homebody.
Yeah, but that okay.
You're not. You're not.
I was like, yeah, I can be. No, I am. Let's be honest. But if I'm not at work or at a dance class, I'm at home.
Yeah, because you got to recharge. One thing I
Yeah.
do think though
Mhm.
is the unassertive in there. I'm like, I
Mm-mm.
definitely not for me, but I think that came on it because of many of your other traits and like what you've been working on. Like you are not afraid to like say what you need to say. So that's one where when you said that that was something that you had, I was like, I don't know, they might be wrong about that one a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I've gotten better at it. I think at a certain point there was a place where I was, and then
Mm,
somebody would say something, I'd just be like, "Oh, it's okay," like whatever. But I've gotten better, thankfully, to my job in a way, like having to learn how to just like say stuff, and even if it was
mm,
uncomfortable. And there's times even when I said stuff, and even if it was uncomfortable, and I go back and I'm like, "Dang, I didn't come as strong as I should have came." And that's just like a learning process. So like, but it's me actually saying something now versus like when I used to not say anything at all. So
mm.
because there's I think about that all the time. You know, when you're like, dang, I could have said this, should have said that. And
Yep.
it's too late now.
Yeah.
It's like maybe that didn't come off across or, etc. Um, and then I agree with you, Sabrina, on the individual development thing. I because of that development of assertiveness that I found, even though it's not at 100% or anything like that, I don't think I'm willing to um do at my expense. Like I could think of so many times I'm not a party person, so I'm not gonna go unless I want to actually go. I'm actually interested in what's gonna happen.
Mm,
Um, like I went, Nicole, when you had your birthday, I was like, yeah, let's go, let's vibe, and I was
yeah.
Mhm.
I was there. Um, and then there's other times where I'm like, not interested. Or like, um, there have been times where I have done that, where it's like, okay, but I was like, hey, if we do this, can we do this? Like, there's a balance
Hmm.
here,
Hmm.
but not always at my individual expense. Because for me, it's just like I need to be comfortable in any space that I put myself in. So
Yep.
that's what
Yeah.
I've learned as I've gotten older.
And I think it's notable that like in that rebelliousness category, I think if I remember right, our scores are like I had the lowest score in that, Sabrina
Mhm.
had the next lowest, and you had the like
28.
still 28. So we're
I
still
had
in the
28.
like
Yeah.
20% range, but I
Mm-hmm.
think they're also limited by like they only have low,
Yes.
Mhm.
moderately high, and high. So
Mhm.
there, even though we're all in the same category, you can definitely see differences where like Kamana is the least martyr complex of all of us, and Sabrina's the middle, and I'm the most. Like that checks out with like what we've described of how we reacted to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I definitely am interested to see like what kind of growth they make in this specific test. I know they have other
Yeah.
variations, so I don't know. Maybe I'll try a different variation. They have more specific answers.
Mm-hmm.
But I had never heard of it before, so I was like, let's try this one and let's just see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Um, moving on to the most popular one of them all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you've never heard of the Myers-Briggs test, where have you been? Or you probably just never taken a psychology class, to be fair. Like, let me not just assume. But the first time, same for me, it was in my psychology class. Funnily enough, we're different ages though, but it was also between my junior and senior year.
Oh,
I
how
did like,
funny.
yeah, also in a psychology class. I took it for the first time. Um, and that's when I found out at that time I was an INFJ. So for people who don't know the Myers-Briggs test, that's 16 different personalities. It could go between a few different get like 50-50. So you can either be extroverted or introverted, so that's your E or your I, intuitive or observant, that's your N or your observant is what's the letter
S.
they choose for that? Is it a
Yeah.
S? I think it's
Yeah.
a S. Yeah. And then it could be thinking or feeling, which is your T or your F, and then judging or prospecting, which is your J or your P. And then this 16 personalities test, it's literally 16personalities.com because the Myers-Briggs one official, like you have to pay for it. Anybody got time for that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, You can also have an extra add-on, so that's either assertive or turbulent. And I did get assertive, so that's what I was like. Then we were talking about what before, so I did get assertive for that. What my response was, so I was INFJ, when I was 17. I was 17 or 16, transitioned to 17 at that time. Um, I'm still an INFJ. And INFJA, which is once again assertive. So I am introverted, surprise, right? Intuitive, feeling, judging, and assertive. Yeah. But what did y'all get before we break down what these things mean?
I actually got the same thing as you, which is new for
Wow.
me. When I took it the first time, I was INTP, which was introverted,
Mm,
intuitive, thinking, and prospecting. And now
mm,
I've got what you have: introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. And
nice.
INTP, I don't, let me see if I can pull up that one because I haven't actually looked at the um
Mm,
what that was. I was just reading about my new one. But
mm,
I was like, that does check out with my growth of, becoming more in tune with my feelings and like being a little bit slower and not kind of like jumping into things as much.
mm,
Where
Mhm.
INTP, yeah, was the logician. So curiosity overall, um, kind of more almost like a stereotypical green category where you're less in touch with your emotions. You're a lot more like intellectual and curious,
Yeah.
sometimes at the cost of like being aware of the people around you and things like that. So I'm not surprised at the change, but I am a little sad because I was so attached to INTP for the longest time.
mm.
But okay, that's fine.
Oh, and then also we didn't say INFJs are advocates.
Mhm.
That's their
Mhm.
title. Yeah. But what about you, Sabrina?
Um, INFP, but like barely. I
Ah.
was almost
Oh,
an INFJ
look at us.
because I'm at 52% prospecting. So I've
Mhm.
got those 3% keeping me up there.
Right.
But I am introverted, intuitive, feeling, prospecting, and then I got turbulent at the end.
Oh yeah, I got turbulent as well.
Mm.
Yeah. And so INFP is the mediator.
Mm, of
Mhm.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's why
yeah.
I was like going from mediator to advocate. That's probably if I continue working on the things I want to work on, that's probably what's going to end up happening. I'm like, I understand how that's like so closely tied together. But I think that's really funny that you two are both INFJs and I'm just like right there.
And
We're almost a
actually,
whole trio.
now that you mention it, I think when I retook it, like it just in the last year, and I was like, I'm gonna pretend I don't see it. I think I was the mediator
Mhm.
because I was like, that does check out for me, but it's not what I wanted to get, so I'm gonna pretend I did not see it.
Mm.
Same. If I ever retake the Harry Potter quiz, don't know why I would at this point, but if I ever did,
Mhm.
it got anything other than Ravenclaw, I'd say this is false. This never happened.
At this point, it's too late. Like
Yeah.
you are who you are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
For INFJs, I just want to give a random note of the fun part of it was they gave like people who are also INFJs.
Mhm.
Don't ask me how they figured this out. I think it's just funsies at that point because I'm like, yeah, right. Because they even have like fictional characters. But
mhm.
some people, um, MLK, Mother Teresa, Lady Gaga, Morgan Freeman, Jon Snow from Game of Thrones, Aragorn from The Lord of Rings, Nelson Mandela, Mary Kondo, Nicole Kidman, Galadriel, is that Galadriel?
I think
Lord of
it's
Rings people?
Yeah.
Galadriel.
Okay. I was like, I don't know. And then a whole bunch like Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird, random things like that. Aramis from The Three Musketeers. And I also wanted to put Rose from Titanic. And I also just want to, I said the first thing that popped into my mind was, see, the thing is, the difference between me and Rose, I wouldn't have let him freeze in that water. That's the
I know
only
is
difference. So I'm with you, Kiki Palmer. I wouldn't have let Rose freeze in that water, but apparently we are both INFJs. There was something missing in her feelings because she let that man
I,
freeze. But
I
she's
mean,
she's an INFJ.
not to get logician on you, but the Mythbusters did test it, and the door was too small. So
We had to find something. They could have switched,
that's what
you
I'm
know.
listen,
saying. They could have swapped.
think about the
Yeah.
story though.
No.
No.
That's what. Okay.
She fell asleep. That's another thing. That's everything Kiki Palmer said in that interview was 100% me. She fell asleep. She took a nap. She woke. She was okay with falling asleep, knowing he was freezing in the water. I just can't. It's okay,
I
Rose.
mean,
It's not okay,
to
but
be
it's okay.
fair, she is a rich woman. They're gonna rich woman.
That's the
Another
problem
thing.
here,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, it's a
Mm-hmm.
class
You are
thing.
correct.
Yeah. Which I know we're kind of getting off topic. That was another thing that Titanic did beautifully was like show that
Hmm.
that scale of like the classism basically.
Hmm.
After rewatching it within the last year, I was like, wow, they really ate with that. Like
Hmm.
besides like the whole like actual Titanic sinking, like them telling the story
Hmm.
of like what that looks like, and yeah, it was
Yep.
kind of wild. But since we're here with friends, to get back on topic, I did want to talk about what friendships and INFJs look like. And I want to see because we're pretty much almost all INFJs, so I'm curious. Specifically, it says they rarely settle for shallow, superficial friendships. When it comes to social fulfillment, they aren't satisfied by casual interactions with colleagues or classmates. They crave authentic, meaningful friendships, friendships that allow them to share their dreams, bare their soul, feel understood and accepted for who they are. They are, and if that means having just one or two confidants rather than a wide circle of acquaintances, so be it. And I feel like that
Hmm.
was me to a T.
One or two confidence, you say.
Yeah, right. Oh,
It's almost like the two confidants are in the room.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I was like, that's me to a T. I have a small group of friends. There are people who I don't talk to every day or like every week or even every month, but I still consider like good friends.
Mhm.
But then also too, what I don't like is friendships have meanings to them, or they should have meanings to them. Once again, going back to if I'm just a friend who is helpful to you and it's not vice versa or like supportive, then it misses a mark because that has happened before too, way in the past of just like they're always coming to me. Like I think of high school, always coming to me for something, needing something. It was never, the other way around or just talking about general things. Like it wasn't just regular conversation. It was just like, hey, I need help. Um,
Mhm.
and so I as I got older, I realized I was like, I'm only sticking with people that I vibe with. And so the minute I'm talking to you, I'm checking your vibes. I'm scaling you out the first time I
Mhm.
meet you. And then at this point, I give you kind of like chances. Every time I talk to you from there on out, I'm understanding like you're either on a scale going up or a scale going down, and then I determine where we are. It's definitely
Mhm.
based off a trust scale. Like if I
Mhm.
can see myself trusting you. Um, so yes, I don't have like 5,000 friends, but I think that's important actually. I think that should be a regular thing because it's people who I tend to see have 5,000 friends. Those 5,000 friends end up stabbing them in the back at some point, sometime. There's drama in it. The friends I have, I can't tell you the last time I've had a dramatic thing happen, and it's beautiful.
Mhm.
Like I literally cannot think of anything within the past like 8 years, and it's just like it's great. I love it. So that means I'm choosing the right circles. But yeah, I can't do the superficial. I was talking to someone about this the other day. Like I can't stand like the superficialness of networking in like
Oh
the
yeah.
entertainment world. I don't like it. It's hard for me to kind of fall into, even though it's necessary. But it rubs my soul the wrong way.
Yeah, I
Because it's
agree.
so inauthentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, transactional. It's very
It
much like,
yeah.
hey, I want to connect with you so we can help each other out career-wise. Feels like the worst reason to try and connect with anybody.
Hmm. Yeah, it's rough.
No,
Um,
it feels yucky.
yeah. But I'm curious, Sabrina, by chance, do you have your friendship thing for yours since
Yes,
you're
I
independent?
do.
Oh,
I'm gonna
okay.
go ahead and read it.
Okay.
Ooh, wrong tab.
It's
Hello.
okay. You're
There
good.
it is. Um, when it comes to social life, people with INFPs may find themselves caught in a web of contradictions. They crave alone time, but they're also vulnerable to loneliness. They long to feel accepted and well liked, but they hate the idea of pretending to be anyone but their authentic self. And while these personalities hesitate to draw attention to themselves, they don't want to be invisible either. So this typically, it means like friendship is a precious like commodity. and an opportunity for people to lift each other up and change each other's lives. So INFPs believe that like a friend in need is a friend indeed type of thing. But it's more like they're very invested. It's very like an intensive investment in relationships. So also very much fulfilled by small, intimate circles of friends, and quality versus quantity is like the big one as well. Um, and so it's yeah, it's very much driven by like those authentic, genuine relationships. And I feel like that's true. I feel like I've always found myself in big groups of friends, but not necessarily been like, these are all like my friends in a sense.
Mm.
Like I become friends with a lot of social butterflies who then have other people, but I feel like it's more acquaintances than anything. Like I said earlier, I only really like give my genuine like feelings, emotions, concerns to a very handful of people. Um, because I don't feel comfortable doing that with someone unless I know that I'm like, you are someone who will hold this and not use it against me, or will not go be telling other people these things that I told you kind of thing. Or if you are, then I know who the person is type of situation. Because I do understand like some people have like that one person they tell everything to, but
Mm.
like it has to be a good solid one that's not just a venting of emotions all the time, because that can become very draining
Mhm.
very
Mm-hmm.
quickly.
Yeah. Do you feel like it matches up?
I
Like
do.
everything stated?
Yeah, I do. I also think it still matches up because for my introverted, I'm like a 57% introvert. So I've actually increased in my introverted tendencies, because the last time I took this, I remember very clearly thinking this is wild. I was 51.
Whoa.
The first time I took this, I was 51. So I've increased. And I think that's true. I think it's because like in high school, I had like that big friend group. Like we had lots of people and stuff like that. And I talked to maybe three of them regularly. Um, I am awful at communicating, which is why I'm so glad we have our rom-com nights, because I'm like, yay, I can do this, but I very easily will like forget to call people or do stuff like that. But the quality of friendships I have, I'm like, I know that we're fine.
Mhm.
I
Mm-hmm.
know that we're fine whenever we can see each other. I know that we're good whenever we get to talk to each other, kind of thing. So I feel like it's accurate. And I also feel
Okay.
like it's accurate. I like being by myself, but I do get lonely very easily.
Mhm.
It's what makes living in the valley rough sometimes, is that I've only got two people out there. But then I'm so busy that I'm like, I just want me time. But then I'm like, but I have nobody.
Mhm.
So I think that part really resonates, is the wanting to be by yourself, but not wanting to be lonely type of thing.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Nicole? I know I just read ours,
Mhm.
but like, how does it feel for you in the friendship
I
category?
do agree. I do still resonate with a lot of stuff in the moderator category of that, like kind of being pulled between two extremes at times. But I
Mm-hmm.
do think I tend towards preferring like fewer, stronger friendships, and like it also sometimes can be in conflict with like my style of like showing affection and love for other people, because I'm kind of like Sabrina, where sometimes if I am like on a certain track, I'm not the kind of person who's just gonna out of the blue like message somebody and start a conversation if we don't have something specific to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I'm still in that mindset sometimes where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna bother them, or I'm gonna like interrupt their life and stuff like that. But especially since
Mhm.
I just recently moved in with my one of my longtime friends, and like I'm very much like a more subtle, like if I'm making coffee, I'm gonna be like, do you want a cup of coffee? Like if I'm making dinner, I'm like, do you want some of this? Like I'm very much a acts of service, like to get on another personality test that people talk about a lot is like love languages. Like if I could do something for somebody, that's a lot more meaningful to me. Whereas like sometimes talk can feel really superficial. So it's interesting to see how those things kind of interact. And a little bit further down on the friendship page for INFJ, it talks about like loyalty and
Mm,
authenticity. And I was like, that is I really resonate with that, because that was
Yeah.
something that also came up with the gold personality trait, is like loyalty, and it kind of sticks with that responsibility and dependability. Like if I want more than anything else in friendships, I want people to know that like I'm there for them. And it doesn't matter if we haven't talked in like 4 months. You can, if we have that connection, that is a forever connection. So like you can message me later and I'm like, hey, what's up? Like, how you doing? Like, I know life gets busy, especially as we are become more adulty adults and don't necessarily all live in the same building where we could just text people at 3 in the morning. Hey, do you want to go get an ice cream?
No.
You
Those
know?
John's runs hit
Mm-hmm.
always.
Sadness.
Yeah.
Um, it's but it that has really been a interesting like transition for me out of college to kind of like get used to that more adult style of friendship. But like it once I kind of got over the initial like grief of it, I guess, to not have people like so physically close to you all the time, it's like, no, this is a different, truer kind of love where you're like,
Hmm.
I'm there, we're this. Like it's you can't get
Mhm.
rid of me if you tried,
Yeah.
idiot.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Hmm.
I've thought about that too. I think as you get older, you have to think about the people that are in your life and you have to make the effort. But I'm also like on the end of a scale, of course, like we're adults and things get busy. So I'm totally okay if there's a person I message and they take 5,000 years to respond back. Because at this point you've been my friend for so long that I know like Naya, I love you, Naya, never responds. Martha, I love you, Martha, never responds. It took a whole month. I messaged her January 2nd. I guess she never saw it and I just got response back. So
Whoa.
it's okay. I think she was traveling and I must have got lost in the sauce and then she got back and I had to resend it. And then after I resent it, it took her a week to respond. I still love you, Martha, but it takes a minute. So it's like I've gotten to that point of understanding though, like life gets busy. If I open up a message and I forget, I'm like that too. I try not to open up messages though if I know I'm not gonna respond in that moment. And I know I don't respond to
Hmm.
messages quick when I'm at work. So I try to if I read it and then I'll mark it unread again just to remember to respond to it. Um, but kind of those kind of things, just being in a space now where you're gotta be aware of who you're letting yourself be surrounded by. And that trust and that loyalty, once again, like you said, is just like super important to me as well because yes, we're young still, but we're in a very critical part of our lives where there's no time to be, quite frankly, like BSing around. Like I don't got
Hmm.
time to be dealing with quite frankly childish things. There are people who are my age who deal with like the strangest levels of drama, and it's just like I'm above that. I've been above that actually, so it's quite. I'm like I said, I'm 25 going on 50, and that's kind of where I'm at. So it is what
Yeah.
it is. But did y'all have any other parts of your um 16 personalities test that you wanted to share? Um, I could tell you
I,
one of mine. I apparently INFJs are not as common. Just fun fact. So the fact that we're almost
oh,
all INFJs is really funny.
We
Yeah.
found each other.
We
Well,
found each other.
y'all found each other. I'm almost there.
You're
Thank
almost
yeah.
you.
there, yeah.
Um, for me, I think it's very interesting. I went to the parenthood one. That was like one of the first ones I went to because I was like, I want to see what this is like. And it's incredibly funny because it says like in their understated, non-domineering way, INFPs love guiding others to learn and grow, and parenthood can be an incredibly rewarding opportunity for them to do exactly like that. Um, I thought it was very funny because this was like the second thing I looked at. I looked at friendships first and then parenthood. Before I even looked at romantic relationships or career, I was like, here
Mhm,
we go. Because this is one of the things that I want in life. And this is something that like is super important to me.
mhm,
And it's very funny too, because it's like they want their kids to be like warm and caring and like to experience the world, but they're like, but they're not hands off, and so they will have like certain expectations in like a very hands off way, and I was like, I think that that's where I'm going towards. I don't think I'm super hands off yet. I think I'm definitely going to
mhm,
be like, nah, what are you doing? What is this? Hello,
mhm.
there's a little brain in there, like kind of situation
Yeah.
sometimes, because that's
Mhm,
how I am with my students at least.
mhm,
But I also thought that was interesting is that the reason behind the parenthood choice for INFPs is because they love to help people learn and grow.
mhm,
um
mhm,
And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because that's the one that I looked at after
mhm.
friendships, and I was not
Mhm.
surprised by it either.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it matches up. Um,
Mhm.
I was like, did
I
either
think
of you guys even look?
No.
I was about to say
Yeah.
the funny part about
Yep.
our friendship
Yep.
is I didn't even look at parenthood.
I know. I
I didn't
know.
even
Yeah.
look. So I love that that was your second choice. I can't tell you what that category said. I can't even
Yep.
tell you the first word or sentence. I did
Didn't
not look
look
at
at
that.
romantic relationships, didn't look at parenthood. It was like, I don't need those.
When I did look up romantic relationships for funsies, I'm a rom-com girly anyway,
Hmm.
so I
Hmm.
just wanted to see if it matched up. But no, I did not look at Parenthood, but that 100% matches up for you, Sabrina. And I will say, while I did not look at Parenthood, I am going to be excited to be a non-biological aunt some point in some way
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm going to spoil that child. I'm not at rich auntie status yet, but I will be,
But
and
one
it's going to be
day.
an incredibly fun time. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that. I was like, my mom has had children for so long. It's so weird to not have like a small baby in front of me at this point. Like Dayana's 6 today, and it's just like she's not small anymore.
Happy birthday, Diana.
I
Oh my
know,
God.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So I was just like, oh my God, there's no more small human beings. Like it's done. So I was just like, yeah. I was like, Sabrina, it probably would be you. I was like, as from all my friends I know, it's probably gonna be you first. So whenever you're ready, no
mhm.
Yeah.
rush.
I was like, but
But
it'll be Thea. It'll
Mm,
be Thea.
yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll get my Spanish together. I got you.
yeah. Your
And
kids are
then
gonna
we'll
have
go from
so many tios and tias, just like spoiling them.
That's
I
so
have
true.
I
thought
hope you're
about this.
ready.
I've thought of
Yeah.
this so often, and I'm just like, oh, thank God. I was like, this is gonna be great. Because if I'm a single parent, this is gonna be the best thing ever. I'm just gonna be like, guys,
Help.
don't get
Takes
my
a
child any more
village.
of these. No noise toys. That's my one
Oh,
request.
valid. Hmm.
Except I know exactly who the people are that are gonna get me noise toys.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was
Hmm.
like, I don't. I wouldn't, but I would.
I
I think it
know.
depends on what it is. Like, I was just
I
like, you
know.
Yeah.
can't. Like, look, it's so cute. Like, what? But
Yeah.
I know if I knew it would annoy me, then I wouldn't get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, no, let me not do that to her. Let me not do that, Sabrina.
I just think that's so funny though, because as I was doing it, I was like, I bet you neither of them even looked at this parenthood section. And yet here
Nope.
I am.
You're the
Yeah.
only one. But
Yeah.
I will add into romantic relationships since I did look at that. So Nicole, I got you. LOL. Um, it says so look for depth and meaning in their relationship. So very similar to friendships, of course. Wasn't surprised by that. Um, this is the type known for having a vibrant, vivid imagination, but few INFJs can imagine themselves settling for a match found on anything less than true love. So yeah, I'm not a settler, which is why, fun fact, I'm single. So,
What?
like that's why. What? What? Yeah, I'm not a settler. I have high expect just as I have high expectations in life. I don't think
Mhm.
they change in relationships. I
Mm.
watch too much reality. I don't even watch that much reality TV, but I watch enough that convinces me of the world around me. Love is
Yeah.
Blind is my only one, really. And now started watching Traders, but that has nothing to do with romance. Um, it can take time to find a compatible partner. What? Wow.
You don't
Who would
say.
who would have thought?
Yeah, because
So,
it's the double whammy of like not willing to settle and romantic.
mm-hmm. Yeah, which is like that. I'm okay with at this point, which is funny though. It's like the right person will come when they come. Also, as Sabrina has constantly reminded me, I don't go outside, so I can't
You just
fi-
walked all of Central Park.
who am I finding at Central Park?
Yeah, but you didn't talk to anybody. That's
Who am I
different. That's
talking to
What do
at
outside
you
Central
time.
mean?
Park?
What do you mean? There's a universe in which you accidentally were like hit by somebody running Central Park, and then that's what happened.
A
There's a
Yeah, the
golden G
park.
rom-com
refuses.
universe.
I paid
Duh.
attention too much to get hit by a person running.
I know.
That's
And
not
the
happening.
kind of
I was
person that
there.
would run into you not paying attention does not meet the standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man.
Peoples.
Wow. We just
Yeah.
we're
And
just
we
I
wonder why.
contradictions everywhere.
Yeah.
LOL. NFA NNF what? INFJs are choosy.
Hmm.
It's true that this personality type can be prone to unrealistic expectations. I don't think they're unrealistic though. I don't. And in fact, when they're single, they tend to construct, whoa, they tend to construct their ideal partner in their mind, and they might be tempted to hold out for this perfect partner or relationship, when in reality, that perfect match just doesn't exist. The good news, INFN, INFJ's idealism is, if balanced with just enough realism, can actually enhance their love life. Um, They talk about conventional terms, um, can make their partner feel heard and understood in beautiful ways. These personalities aren't afraid to express their love and they feel it with all their heart. And that's what that says. So yeah, I kind of got read a little bit, but
Mhm.
I'm okay at this point. I'm chilling. As I've said before, I've said this before. I think when we did our podcast, Sabrina, on like does true love exist and stuff, I am not pulling a person into my life and settling if it stresses me out more because I'm so
Yeah.
okay by myself. You got to add to the plate, not take
Yep.
off.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we've had this, the three of us have had this conversation multiple times. I just
Mhm.
found out my sister and like one of my other friends had this conversation about me as well, where it's just like that independence is just so established and so much like now we've got our shit together that like
Mhm.
it has to be something meaningful. It has to be something that like obviously will be work because it has to. Like it
Yes.
always will be.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But if it's going to be work, then I want to make sure that it's something good and something that
Mhm.
will add as a whole to my life and to like all this experience. So I'm with you there.
Mhm.
INFPs are somewhat similar.
Mhm.
I think we are just the one given to us is a little bit more rooted in fantasy than the ones given to
Mm.
INFJ
LOL.
because it has a category that just says hopeless romantics.
You
Got
got a
him.
subcategory? I
Yes,
love that.
yes, my subcategories are hopeless romantics, making an effort, finding what's real. But hopeless romantics is the first one and the longest one. And so it's saying that like they want to connect. They're not looking for just a partner, they're looking for a soulmate. Um, that they're willing to consider going out with all sorts of people, as in like it doesn't matter like their class, their race, like anything like that. Like their nothing like that matters. It's like the deeper emotional one. But that they do have like it's like it would be a mistake to think that they don't have preconceived standards for significant others. Um, and with everything with the like imagination and stuff, this personality type tends to develop and carry with them a vision of their ideal partner, a vision that may be based on a favorite fictional character, a person they once knew, or simply the stories they've told themselves about how love should look.
Oh my God.
I think you got read more, and I'm so glad I didn't get that because oh my gosh.
And I would like to say that yes, this was me to a T up until like maybe 2, 3 years ago.
Mhm.
Now I'm like, not there's no comparison to those fictional characters, but you ask like 21-year-old me, absolutely, absolutely, you're gonna have to do the bare minimum, which is what all those fictional characters do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
but but yeah, I read that and I went, oh my god, okay.
They got you, bro.
Yeah.
But it does have the making an effort thing, the whole idea of like INFPs will very quickly realize, wait a minute, this isn't like a book, and then be like, you have to put in the work effort. But the whole idea is like because INFPs are looking for a soulmate, if they're even considering a person, it means that that person must be enough to be like, all right, let's see if this will work, kind of thing. So similar in a sense, except I think INFPs are a little bit more willing as a whole, according to this, to go try, while INFJs, it sounds like, are more like, I need to make sure that this is worth the try.
Mhm.
So a little bit more thinking into it, which interestingly enough, kind of there's no T there, but yeah, there is like a little bit more extra thinking involved. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I
Um,
think it's the P and the J, because the P is still more like looking at
you're
stuff but not making a
right.
decision. The J is coming to conclusions about stuff. Because
Mhm.
I did look at that difference, because it was like 52. I was like, I need to know what the other one is. So
Yeah,
that's the big difference there.
that makes sense. That 100% makes sense. Um, before we wrap up, because I know we've definitely gone over, um, I did want to just like throw out strengths and weaknesses that
Mhm.
are there. I'm not gonna break all of them down. I'm just gonna throw the words out. The strengths for INFJ: insightful, principled, passionate, altruistic, creative, which I think match up for Nicole and I. For
Mhm.
altruistic, um, yeah, I could see that as well. Yeah, there's certain things I never really think about, and that was one of them. For INFJ, for weaknesses, we get sensitive to criticism, reluctant to open up, perfectionistic, uh, avoiding the ordinary, and prone to burnout.
Oh yeah. That was where I went first. And seeing sensitive to criticism first, I was like, hey, I know I went to weaknesses first. You didn't have to say it like that.
Right.
Oh my God.
They should have put the first word. Got him. Here we go. Finish reading them. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Oh.
Ugh.
But yeah, I was like, that's so interesting. That I feel like the Myers-Briggs, the reason I always go back to it though is that it stays pretty relevant. There's not much I read where I'm like, no, that doesn't match up. Once again,
Mhm.
though, we talk about how we do this ourselves and how it's all self-perception based when we answer
Mhm.
these questions. But yeah, no, I feel like that one pretty much matches up. I think the colors personality matches up pretty well too. And then I feel like the Isaac, like we talked about, I would love to see how it develops more. I think it just needs more breakdowns
Mhm.
of things, more ranges. But yeah, what about y'all?
Yeah.
How do you feel about your overall results for everything?
I feel like they definitely check out for me. And like another area that I did a little bit more exploring in was workplace and career, because that's kind of where I feel most lost personally at the moment. And reading that, like that's kind of what I value these the most for, are like orienting yourself around things where you're less sure of. Because you could like I we kind of know ourselves the best because we spend 100% of our time with ourselves. And even though people can have like blind spots about themselves, like it can still give you a lot of good insights into those blind spots by doing things like that. And that's where I find
Mm,
these to be most helpful.
yeah.
Yeah. I I was like it because my approach to personality tests is like I do think like out of all of them, I make the true colors more of my personality, but I don't think it's also fully like that. I think that it's really nice to come across something and see like, oh, actually these things do reflect me. I think it's nice to have in written words like advice for you or kind of insights on you because I think it can reaffirm certain personality things that if you are a little bit like I am lost in here, or I don't know how I would put this into words. It's there for you.
Mhm.
And I think I also like them because they change every single time. Like even if they don't fully change, they're fluctuating. Like I still got INFP, but my I is a lot more, and then that P is almost gone, type
Mhm.
of thing. So it still shows that kind of thing. Also, just like personality tests are just so nice as like a little coming to part because they do things like this. It's the same thing. I
Mhm.
love zodiac signs, not because I
Mhm.
think they're 100% truth, but because I like seeing okay, which parts are actually genuinely like me
Mhm.
and which parts am I kind of like, I don't think so. I think this is the overgeneralization. So I like to go through and play that game too of the what do I agree with? What is something that maybe I don't like, but is probably true? What are the things that I'm like, nah, this is not me. So I feel as
Mm,
a whole, mine represent me very, very well.
Mhm.
mhm.
It's just little tiny tweaks here and there where I'm like, not so much.
It's true, yeah.
I
Uh, Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I also think that one thing we saw across a lot of these is like that growth, especially as you take them like at different points in your life. So like another thing in my Myers-Briggs was that I went from thinking to feeling, which is kind of a trend that I saw throughout all my tests that it's still very much in the middle. I think I was a lot more thinking originally, but
Mhm.
like it's kind of nice to be able to see like areas where you previously felt where you kind of had weak spots and then putting in some effort to like try and connect with those things more and then seeing that turn out at least in self-reported personality tests.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah. It's interesting too, because at the end of the day, like there's always going to be some form of weakness or some form of even when there's
Yeah.
growth. So that's why it's always intriguing with these. And I'm curious to see down the line whenever we take it again, like what those changes have become now, as we grow older, new experiences, change you as well. So it's just fun to just reflect. And if you feel like your self-reflection is on the right track, when you look at that, like you said, it's reaffirming. Um, Thank y'all again for joining. As always, this is always fun. Like we always end up going over.
I
Um,
I
yeah,
think we have yet to sit for less
I
than
knew
an
that.
hour.
Yeah, for the Halloween ones, I think we did. Uh,
Okay.
for some of them, yeah, we stayed
Mhm.
pretty short, but that's it though. So yeah, that's it. Um, but yes, listeners, let us know. Take the test, take the colors test, take the Isaac test, take the MBTI, Myers-Briggs test, 16personalities.com. That's one free, not a sponsor. But take them, let us know what you are. Any other INFJs, any other INFPs out there? Welcome to the team. Thank you so much for listening. Share, like, and follow this podcast. Follow me at Kayvon on Instagram and at the Introvert Social Hour on TikTok to get podcast updates. Send it to a friend, a family member, a loved one. Get some sunshine, get some air. Have an amazing week. And I will see you next week on the Introvert Social Hour. Thanks for joining. Bye.